So Ilkka, just to, I guess, drive down a little bit more into some of the detail around e-invoicing. If a company is putting together its business case for electronic invoicing for the first time, what are some of the key elements that should really appear in there?
Well, I think for both sending and receiving, looking at what we normally discuss with the customer, it's clearly the cost savings, efficiency, automation, maybe in that order. Also that the cost savings for the sender, we're speaking about multiple euros per invoice savings, which is, if you're running for more than 100,000 invoices, it's clearly worthwhile thinking today. On the receiving part, it's even greater. So the paper processing of the invoices could be as high as 30, 40, even 50 euros per invoice in terms of the processing cost. And if you go into full invoicing, that reduces down into few euros. So we're speaking about significant savings, both sending and receiving part. In the paper processing, all in all, you can imagine how much of labor it uses, and therefore, this is not today's way of doing things. We knew that already in 1997 when invoice processing in the electronic format started, and it became evident over the years that now invoicing on top of the internal electronic processing in companies, this will come and it will change things even further with the automation level increasing, and things are becoming better in the overall business case for the companies. But this is just a starting phase. Of course, we're speaking about invoices today. One can imagine what will happen in the next years when the suppliers and buyers are connected over the network and exchanging invoices. The next level, of course, could be procurement and procurement-related documents. And that's sort of a natural next step into this, but seems like the whole world is at the moment speaking about mostly invoicing.
And you're right, and everyone is almost talking about e-invoicing at the moment. But how does it fit alongside other purchase-to-pay automation technologies?
It was a bit of a surprise also to us in the past couple of years that when we were investigating current invoice automation installations, we have nearly 2,000 of those around the world in medium and large companies, and it was a good positive surprise that when we actually were able to prove that e-invoicing is going to improve the automation level in a significant way. So there is a level of automation that you can reach by processing paper and scanning it and turning it electronically. But if you go into full invoicing, the depth of information in the invoice itself increases, and the automation levels are completely different what they are with the paper or paper processed to electronic format. So this is a clear connection for the invoicing, and it definitely shows that companies can go even beyond 90% of automation levels in the good scenarios when the invoicing reaches its adequate level.
Okay. And obviously that's the ideal scenario, but what are some of the obstacles that companies are facing to get to that?
Well, at the moment, I suppose the market has been driven starting, and we've been doing that also with the customer, starting that with the receiver. We connect the receiver into the network, and then the problem is how to get the suppliers into the network to send invoices, and that's definitely been one of the obstacles in the past years. That it's slow, it's time consuming, and the effort made by the companies seem to be not producing results. And therefore, the network providers have been sort of forced to provide productized services for supplier activation. So we do it for the customer in an efficient way, and we try to make sure that it's also a good case for the supplier. And things have been changing to more and more positive when the productized services are there to help the customers to do the supplier activation. And the other thing is that we've been doing a lot of technology improvements also for the supplier, not to send just that specific customer's invoices to the network, but to send all of the invoices to the network. and on the other hand to activate the receivers of that specific sender. So things are clearly going forward, and now we're seeing signs in the more mature markets that there are more and more large invoicing senders being activated and sending all of their invoices to the network. But it's been driven in the past by the receivers, and now things are changing, and then we're going both ways.
Now, one of the complexities that people talk about a lot is is around cross-border legislation and being a challenge for e-invoicing. What are you seeing happening at the moment to change that?
I do think that the situation is becoming more and more neutral at the moment. So we're working with global and very international companies at the moment all over the world, and it seems to be the situation that this is becoming what it should have been all the time. So it's becoming that the barriers are going away, and then some of those countries that have initiated, let's say, a bit strange rules or barriers to e-invoicing, whereas when you look at the paper, there was never such a thing. And I think over the years, when we have learned what e-invoicing truly is and how it's being conducted by professional, large operator parties, I think some of these elements are going away because of that. Everybody's seeing that this is conducted by large operators and it's secure, and we don't have to force specific elements country by country, but this is becoming sort of a commodity in the market, and I think some of these elements have been in the market just caused by misassumptions.